I wanted to make this video for this design just because it's a simple 4-unit anterior case. I'm sure that you guys encounter these kind of cases pretty often. And if you do and you're designing them, more props to you. But a lot of times, you may be sending those out to a lab to have the lab design them or the lab make the crowns. But in this video, I'm going to show you guys a little bit of what I do to tackle these cases. And maybe after watching this video, you'll have a little bit of confidence, or you'll have a little bit more know-how on how to do these cases, do these designs. So first things first, we did everything that we need to do in our model phase. We got our model axis properly set. We did the whole set jawline. All that you're really doing here is putting these numbers over the preps. We marked our margins. And I'm just going to double check these margins. This case was sent to me for a design. I'm going to design the case and send the design back to the dentist to mill them, or the dentist is going to mill them. Maybe this margin could be, but before this case was sent, he marked the margins. So I always appreciate that, and it's better if the dentist marks them anyways, because I usually can see them, but if there's an iffy spot, it's better if the dentist marks them. We're going to check our insertion, our path of insertion. We're good there. We're just trying to avoid any color or any yellow marks near the margin. We're good there. And anywhere you do see color, it's showing you that's where an undercut is. But usually the software and the mill take care of all those undercuts. If they're near the margin, though, the mill and the software is not going to take care of those margins. And then in our parameters, I usually set the parameters to the same thing every time, and it works. Radial spacer, occlusal spacer, both 120. If it's a veneer case, I'll set that to like 140. Just increase the spacer so the crowns or veneers seat easier. It's easy for things to not seat properly when using the CEREC for veneer cases. Also, when you're doing veneer cases, designate the veneers as crowns in administration. That way the machine overmills the intaglio surface. If it doesn't overmill the intaglio surface, it could also prevent the veneers from seating all the way. So if you've experienced that problem, mark the veneers as crowns in administration and set your spacer to 140, and you'll be good. And then spacer or minimal thickness for radial and occlusal 500, marginal thickness 100 if it's a veneer, usually like 120 to 140, just to ensure that everything mills without any chipping at the margin. And if you're dry milling zirconia, set that thing to 150, maybe even 200. And then 80 for the width of ramp. Good. And then after you do that, after you set those, you're going to want to, I'm not able to check it right here because I've already done the parameters, but you're going to want to check this box. And that's going to apply for similar restoration elements. That's just going to basically apply the parameters that you set to all of the restorations rather than having to go into each individual tooth and setting those individually. And then we've selected a morphology. I went with this one. We're going to make some serious modifications because I'm not digging the whole like clamshell look of the laterals, but we will fix that. But I do like the shape of the centrals, and I think that it pairs well. The shape of these centrals, God, so popular. Let me know when you're done. Let me know when you're done so I can start vacuuming. My beautiful, beautiful wife. Yeah, but anyways. So we need to finish this up because we gotta vacuum. We're having friends over later. We gotta make sure the house is spick and span. Okay, but yeah, like I said, I'm not digging the shape of the laterals. Just to me, they look, that shape wouldn't pair well with many teeth. You're not going to encounter many cases where that's the shape that you're going for. So we will modify that. But as for the centrals, I think that the shape of these centrals is just beautiful. There's a nice accentuated contour line or line angle on the mesial, the distal as well. I like the incisal shape. We will modify that a little bit as well though. But I think that it pairs well with the cuspids. The shape of the centrals pairs well with the cuspids and as well with the lowers. I think that they just go really well together. And then in the positioning phase, in the positioning phase, we're going to just make sure that we're lining up this shell of a tooth with the margins. So you could see right here on our facial margin, we're lined up. On the mesial and distal margin, we're lined up. So that way, when we go into the edit element phase, the software is not going to have to do much to merge the shape of the tooth or the shell of a tooth with the prep. So that's what we're doing there. And you could see in these areas, we're going to have to work on the shape. We may get those discrepancies right here in those areas where the shell of a tooth isn't quite lined up with the margin. But I've already done all of this, so now let's go into the edit element phase. And you could see, look at this. You could see when you line up this shell of a tooth, or when you line up everything in the positioning phase properly, when you move into the edit element phase, you're not going to have to change much, or the software is not going to have to change much. See, the name of the game is just good proposals. You just want good proposals. That's all it boils down to. And to get good proposals, you have to set up the software to give you good proposals. So we've set up the software to give us good proposals by choosing our the shape that we like and by lining up everything properly in the positioning phase, so that when you move into the edit element phase, the software isn't going to have to change much to merge those two together. And I'll show you what I mean. But also parameters. Parameters are going to really determine the kind of final design that you end up with. If you set your minimal thickness way too high, you're going to have to work around all that minimal thickness bubble, or a lot of people will call the minimal thickness bubble holes. And they're not holes. They're not holes in the crown. The minimal thickness bubble, the blue bubble, is only there to warn you, hey, you're getting a little thin. That's the only reason it's there. It's not going to determine the final outcome, or it's just there for caution. It's just like a warning sign. Consider that minimal thickness bubble a red bubble, and you don't want any red showing. But if you have it set real high, you're not allowing yourself the freedom to make the tooth look the way you want it. Because if you have it set real high, it's like, yeah, there's going to be some areas where there's a warning, like, hey, it's too thin here, but it's okay if it's a little bit thin on the facial. I mean, you don't want it too thin on the facial. You don't want your prep showing through, but it's okay. You know, like, you really want to make sure that you've got the proper thickness on the facial if you're trying to cover a dark stump, but also on the lingual of your anterior crowns or the occlusal of your posterior crowns. That's where you really want to make sure you've got that thickness. So, you know, make sure that you're getting it right there. But as for the rest of the tooth, set your minimal thickness low so you allow yourself the freedom to really shape them the way you want. I hope that made sense. But so we're back to the positioning phase, and I want to show you how little the software has to do from this positioning phase to the edit element phase to merge them together. So we're here now, edit element phase. So from maybe from this portion, follow my cursor, from like the only thing that's going to really change is the gingival third. But everything below the gingival third is going to remain the same. And then all that we're doing in our design is just fixing this gingival third. And in this case, we're going to fix the shape of the laterals. But that's all we're doing, and contacts. So we're just refining the emergence, as I would call it. We're smoothing out the emergence because you can see these discrepancies here. We don't want those. And then we're going to refine the contacts and maybe add some textures. And for me personally, I'm going to change up the shape a little bit, but we're good here. And then what else are we going to do? Oh, I was going to show you guys the difference, you know, the kind of proposal you're going to get if you set things right in the positioning phase versus the kind of proposal you'll get if you don't even touch the positioning phase. So typically in the positioning phase, it would be like, let's just bring these out so that the facial margin isn't lined up, or so that the shell of this tooth isn't lined up with the facial margin. So we're just going to bring them out. I don't want to change things too much because I want to be able to go back in here and fix it. But look, on our centrals, the facial margin isn't lined up with this tooth. So now when we go into the edit element phase, you're going to see a lot of discrepancies at the gingival third, which aren't fun. Now I'm using the InLab software. All the steps are same in the CEREC software, but only thing that's different is everything's the same basically between InLab and CEREC. The only thing that's different about CEREC is in the CEREC software, when you're in the positioning phase, you're going to have an option, at least in 4.6. I'm not sure about 4.5, but in 4.6, you're going to have this option to check or uncheck constrained adoption. Uncheck that. Uncheck constrained adoption. So you can see it's not even that big of a difference, but like how much adjustment is needed right here at this facial margin, because it brought that shell of a tooth where it was about right here, and then it had to merge it to this margin. So after, you just want to make sure that it doesn't have to do too much merging. Yeah, so let's line everything up in the positioning phase. I am wired right now. I've drank so much coffee this morning. I've been working late. I gotta be honest. I've been working. Well, I'll start my day around like 8 usually, and I've been working till 9, 10 p.m. Sometimes I work even till like 1 a.m. It's crazy stuff. It's just a crazy time of year. A lot of growing pains with my design business, my design service. It's just exploded. I'm so grateful, so fortunate for that. But it takes its toll, and so probably will be maybe looking to hire employees sometime. But what I wanted to do to remedy, the growing pains, is I made this online CEREC Academy, CERECacademy.com. I made this online course teaching you guys exactly how I design. Like exactly to a T. I go real in depth. Like this video, I'll go in depth, but in my design course, I really made it to where you guys grasp everything as far as anterior designs are concerned. And also in that course, I included a lot of practice files. So I've included DXD files that you can download, import into CEREC or InLab, and practice on. So there's about like 5 design files for multiple unit anterior cases, everything from 4 units to 8 units. And then there's about 30 files total. And then there's about 2 or 3 or 4 even implant cases. There's bridge cases, multiple unit anterior bridge cases. And there's everything. And what I encourage is for you to download those files and practice these techniques, practice these protocols that I'm showing you, and just through repetition alone, you're gonna get it down. Like practice does make perfect, and that's what it took for me. I started in our family business, in our family dental laboratory. My grandfather started it in 1968. For some of you who know me personally, that's Brian Hatcher. And my father joined in 92, and then I joined in 2014. Kind of like around the time of my senior year in high school, I started going to the lab and playing with things. And then, just constantly doing these cases, because at a laboratory, we're getting a lot of cases. So I just had a huge windfall of experience, real quick. And so that really helped me get to a certain level. And I just encourage you guys to do the same thing. Practice. But yeah, so anyways, let's move into the edit element phase. Okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do when I look at this design, I see these laterals they're kind of caving in towards the lingual. They're rounded. So first thing I'm going to do is fix this area that's caving in towards the lingual. So I'm going to take the shape tool, individual 4-directional, and I'm going to bring that out. Bring it out to about there. Then let's look at it from the front. And now we've still got that. Oh, God. We've still got that bump at the incisal edge. So let's bring that up. We could even bring that up with the 4-directional. No, let's not do that. move to two directional, and rather than bringing that up, let's bring the mesial portion down. So you can see we've already fixed a good amount of that lateral. And I wish that there was a pre-op scan included with this case, but there wasn't. That's okay. But what I've done in the model axis is I've set the jaw the same as, so basically if you look at this grid, you can see these horizontal and vertical lines. I'm imagining that this horizontal line is the eye level. So I've looked at photos of this patient, I've compared the eye level to the smile line, and then that's how I determine how I'm going to orient the jaw in the set model axis phase. So that every time I click this button front in the view options, every time I click front, it's going to show me exactly what it looks like when you're looking directly at the patient head on. So by looking at the patient head on, and we're also going to imagine that those horizontal lines are the lip line as well. So that way we can get the smile line parallel with the lip line and with the eye level. So we got it oriented properly. So what we're trying to do is achieve a smile line that's somewhat, relative to these horizontal lines. Now the centrals can be increased in length just slightly, maybe. I'm going to use the anatomical 2 direction for that. I'm going to grab one of the centrals, 8 or 9. I'm going to hold control down, and then I'm going to click 8 or 9. I'm just going to click the other one, and then that'll allow you to move things together. So let's increase the length slightly. Let's bring in the lower jaw just to see where our length is compared to our lower jaw. And then if you hold control down, it'll also make them transparent. So let's look at the length of the centrals on the lowers. Maybe that'll help us determine what length we want to do for the uppers. Maybe I increased the length a little too much. It just needed a tad. So I say we end there. Let's increase the length of the laterals slightly. And then also we could do, this lateral, we still need to fix the clamshell look on that one. We could take this move tool and then bring it in more so that we're getting our line angles a little bit closer, tighter together. And then as far as moving this contour line, I could see like I want to bring it in a little bit, and maybe at the incisal mesial portion I want to bring it out distally a little bit. So I'll take the individual 4 directional and I'll grab that line angle and I'm just going to move it. I'm going to hover right over it and move it. And then I want to accentuate the rest of this line angle. It's kind of flattened out. So I'm going to go to the form tool, add. I'm going to make the shape appropriate. So you could see that or make the size appropriate. You could see that this size kind of would carry well with the rest of the contour line. So let's keep the strength low so we maintain control. And then let's just bring this contour line up. Maybe a little bit. We're just playing around here. Might not even get it right the first time. That's pretty normal. I'm just gonna add a little bit. I don't like that. I don't like the way that that's going. I've done too much. So I'm gonna undo that and let's try again. That's good. We're just going to stop there and go to the smooth tool to fix all these discrepancies before it throws me off any more than it already is. Okay, so now that's a little bit better. And then we're going to take the shape tool, go back to the shape tool. I'm usually switching from the shape tool to the form tool. I'm working with those tools a lot. 2 directional, let's maybe make this not so rounded. Yeah, that works. Take away the lower jaw, get a better view of the incisal shape. Look at this tooth from every angle. And then in the positioning phase, when you're using the scale tool in the positioning phase to maybe fit the shell of a tooth to the margin, don't worry about the lingual. Don't worry about the shell of the tooth lining up with the lingual margin, because if you're gonna line up the shell of a tooth with the facial margin and the lingual margin, you're gonna have to use the scale tool to make the tooth wider in that direction, and that's gonna make your incisal edge wider as well, which we don't want that. It makes it really funky looking, makes it look fake even. So just fix the fix the lingual manually once you get into the design phase. And to fix that, what I mean by fix that is just fill in the minimal thickness with the two-directional circular tool. Just like that. And then you may still have some discrepancies. What I mean by discrepancies are these little bumps down here near the margin. And you could just take the Form Smooth tool on a low strength and a somewhat larger size. Low strength but larger size. And just smooth that out. Just wash it. Now to try and fill in this contact here, we'd have to make a really funky looking tooth because of the way that this cuspid is shaped and the way that it's rotated as well. To fill that in, we would have a really bulbous tooth. So I think we just need to leave this embrasure open and just fill in the contact up here towards the gingival. I think that that's how it'd be naturally. And I think that even if it wasn't that way naturally, that's going to give us the best appearance, because then we're still maintaining a natural tooth shape. Or if we try to fill that in, it's not going to look good, one, and it's not going to look like a natural tooth. Okay, so this is looking good. See, I like this shape better than this shape. And we didn't change much. What I do like about this shape is how the contour line's real accentuated, and we've got this facial groove kind of built into the shape of the tooth. I like that. Just what I don't like is this ovoid shape at the incisal. I really don't think that works for many patients. So minor adjustments will fix it. You can get something like this just from minor adjustments. Maybe bringing up the contour line a little bit more and just fixing this bulbous area. Yep. Let's work on the centrals a little bit. I like how the line angle has a nice curvature to it, but I might even bring it in a little bit. I hope that this robe isn't opening up too much. Gotta keep my class. Gotta keep it classy. Because we're in class. But no, I mean, I'm in a robe right now, but I mean, I gotta be honest, I don't like, for those of you who know me personally, I don't like to wear clothes, if that makes sense. I like to, if we could all walk around in the nude, maybe not completely nude, but like bikinis and swim trunks, or even just like boxer briefs, that would be the life. So living in California, I mean, that is kind of a plus. Taxes aren't always the best or always the most fun to be paying, but it's almost worth it. It's like that's just the cost. That's just the cost of entry to live here, because you've got all the beaches, and when you go to the beach, you can just walk around. I was in Huntington not too long ago, and you could just walk around in your underwear even. And my wife, she's from Pismo, so you know it's normal for her too. Love it though. If you haven't been to California, I would try and make your way out here. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to Monterey this weekend just to get away for a little bit, because I swear these work weeks have just been crazy lately. Okay, so now we're filling in the lingual of the central. We're using the shape tool to do that, filling in that minimal thickness bubble. And voila. I think we're good there. Let's save our work so we don't lose any of it. Yep. And as you're designing teeth too, like just sitting here looking at this, you get to see different angles. And you always want to be mindful of looking at the tooth from different angles. I was once told by a great someone, I don't remember exactly who it was, but they said, and this person, I really can't name him, but it was just genius. When you're looking at a crown, no matter what angle you're looking at that crown, you'll know you've made a good crown when you could say, oh, that's a lateral, even though you're looking at it from the lingual. Or even if you're looking at it from the interproximal, that's a lateral. That's how you want to shape your teeth. So a lot of times when I'm working on my contacts, I'll just work on one tooth at a time by taking away, like let me show you. By taking away the upper jaw, this is how I'll work on my contacts. Because yeah, I'm getting the contact, but then I'm also being mindful of, okay, if I'm looking at the tooth from this angle, does it look like it could be a lateral? Well, it almost looks like it could be a central, but you know, you want to just make sure that this is a lateral, even if you're looking at it from this angle or that angle. It's a lateral. And when, you know, and then after the contacts are done and you've shaped them the way you want, then you'll bring the upper jaw back in, look at it from the front, and if something needs to be filled in, like maybe a black triangle or something, then you address it from there. But first and foremost, get the shape dialed. Okay, enough of that rant. Let's get back to this design because I've got to get it out of here. She's got a vacuum. So we brought this mesial incisal edge down on number 9. We're going to do the same thing on number 8. And if we want to maybe bring in this incisal embrasure a little bit, use the 4-directional shape tool to bring those in. Let's move the contour line a little bit over. Well, I think they were pretty lined up. Yeah, we're good there. And then maybe the shape 2-directional to fill in this. But I like that curvature. And we didn't fill it in too much over here, so I think we'll leave it. Let's bring up the grid. We know that horizontal is eye level, lip level. I think we're good there. And then as for the lateral, let's bring this mesial portion down like we did over there. We're going to have to use the 4-directional to bring that up, but let's not focus on that for now. Let's just focus on contour lines, line angles, if you will, and the rest of the shape. Form tool, add to accentuate this contour line a little bit more. There we go. Fill it in a little bit right there. There we go. And we're looking at this thing from every angle. And that's another thing that you've got to keep that in mind when you're designing. Like, you know, what angle am I looking at this at? Or am I looking at this tooth from every angle? You got to make sure that you're looking, like even from this angle, you could see that this contour line can maybe be brought back a little bit. So you take the shape 2-directional tool and just bring it back a little bit. There you go. You could see, I don't know if you could see what we did there, but maybe this could come out a little bit. This is a great angle to look at your centrals and your laterals from this angle, because you can see a lot more of those discrepancies or those bumps, because you get that shadow effect. Another thing too, when you're working in the CEREC software, mark my words, when you're working in the CEREC software, go to analyzing tools, find restoration color and unselect that. If it's selected, you're going to get that really glossy finish on the design, which won't really allow you to see all the imperfections. Where if you unselect that, you'll get this matte finish that you're seeing right here in the InLab software, and you're going to be able to see things a lot more clearly. So just try and remember to unselect that whenever you're designing, at least whenever you're designing an anterior case and the design aesthetics matter a little bit more. Okay. So we're looking good, my friends. We are looking good. Bring that over a little bit. I like the way that this is turning out. What I want to do is maybe bring this contour line out a little bit so that we get that ovoid appearance, that we get that nice width on the mesial. And I think that I looked at photos of this patient. I can't really show you. It's confidential information. But I think that her teeth would look really nice with a more, she would look like her face would look really nice with prominent features. So prominent teeth. So maybe even with these centrals, we can make them a little bit wider. And I think that it would do her smile a lot of justice. Or with other people, maybe they would look better with a more subtle, dainty, fine appearance. And I like to keep things fine and dainty and delicate with my teeth and with my designs. But sometimes it's okay to be like out there with your teeth. And in this case, it would just look really nice with her. So, okay, now here's a dilemma that I see. Over here on this lateral, we've got a more vertical distal contour, where over here at the incisal third, it kind of comes out a little bit. And I'm thinking that I like this better now. So all that we'll do to fix that, remedy that, and by bringing this side out, we're also filling in that large embrasure. So, yeah, I think that's going to work. I'm going to use the two-directional circular individual, if you will, and just bring that out just ever so slightly. And we've brought it out now, but what I don't like is how rounded this is right here. So we could take the four-directional circular, grab it from here, and maybe just like sharpen it up a little bit, square it off. Like that. Bring up the grid, maybe get an idea of like what kind of symmetry you're working with. Well, that doesn't really give you a good idea, but I think that, let me see. Okay. Let's just stick with that. I don't want to drive myself too crazy. Okay. Now that we've done that over here, let's check some things over here. We've got minimal thickness on the lingual of number 8. That's fixed. And then to fill in the black triangles, what I like to do is look at the tooth from the lingual, grab a portion from the lingual, and then bring it back. And then bring them into contact from that angle, from that direction, rather than trying to fill them in from the front. Because if you're filling them in from the front, you're going to be changing the shape. And then also by filling them in from the lingual, you're adding some nice depth, creating a more natural and just creating a more natural appearance rather than having some flat surface. We've got like nice curves in there. Okay. Same thing. We're good on that side, but then same thing right here. From the lingual, grab a portion of the lingual, then bring it into contact. Now this contact is tight over here on number 7, so we'll have some work to do there. And I'll show you how to fix a contact like that that's real tight without changing the width of the tooth. Same thing, you're gonna adjust that contact from the lingual, and let me show you what I mean. So let's start working on our contacts, and let's fix that as well. So 4-directional, shape tool, bring it forward. Now we've got a nice straight incisal edge. We could do that over here too. Take the 2-directional, bring it back a little bit. Now I would usually be much quicker with a 4-unit anterior design, but I want to just show you guys some tips and tricks. I really do. And I really should record more often, but like I said, just sometimes it's a Friday right now. It's almost the holidays. Things are a bit more relaxed, so I kind of have that freedom where usually it's like things are crazy around here. Gulping coffee, listening to Led Zeppelin, just like trying to get stuff out. Um, but yeah, it's just a more relaxed day. So okay, so we're good there. You can see some asymmetry between these two laterals, definitely. So I might even bring that portion back that we just changed just a little bit. Okay. This works. Let's bring up the horizontal lines, the grid. Okay. It's good. And then if you look at her photos, which you can't see, these cuspids aren't in line with each other. Like the tip of 6 isn't in line with the tip of 7. One's a little bit longer than the other. So if you bring up the grid, you can also see that that translates on the grid. You know, you can see number 11 touches the horizontal line before number 6 does. So that's a good thing because we know that's how the jaw's oriented. And now when we design, we can make sure that while maintaining that orientation, we're making the rest of the teeth in line with the lip and the eye level. Now, all that we need to do is contacts and smooth out this emergence area, and we're good. So I would go to Form, Smooth, bring the strength down, increase the size, just start working on that emergence. And also, when you're working on the emergence, you don't want to ride the contour line or the line angle too much because then you're going to change that shape that you work so hard on. So just kind of work around that. Or work like if you've got the contour line right here, work it this way or work it from this angle, but not directly on top of it. So you could see this contour line's already changing in shape, but it's really minor stuff. And then if you want to, you could take this 2-directional, make it the proper size to fit within this like little crease, if you will, and just fill that in. Bring it out, bring it out. You could do the same thing right here, which I think I want to do. Yeah. And then go back to your Form Tool Smooth with a low strength. Don't get crazy on me. No high strength stuff. I know it's nice to be big and strong, but you want to keep that strength low so that you maintain control. If it's set real high, it's going to create all sorts of things that you didn't ask for. Be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. And that's true. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. That is so true. Obviously, I've asked for the wrong thing. If you can't tell, no, I'm joking. But it's just it really does. Like what you desire and what your mind is concentrated on and focused on, it seems to manifest in reality. And I've seen that just even with this like design business that I have, and creating the YouTube videos and all. I saw it up here. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to try this out. And then 10 months later, business is booming. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And, I get to travel with my partner, Dr. Patel. And, we're just having a blast doing these courses. But it all started up here first. And a little bit of luck. Dr. Patel, when we started these courses, or he started them actually, he did one in Dallas, and then after that course, I think this is how it goes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he did one in Dallas on his own little private course, and then he called me after that, said, "Hey, I would like you to join. I want you to teach the smile design portion of it." And I was asked before that to do a course here and a course there. And I was always so busy or just wasn't enticing enough where I just said no to this, no to that. But when he called me, it was just like, yes, I'm your guy. Like, I'm there for you. And it was love at first sight. So we've been doing that with a lot of success. People are learning a lot. Everyone that attends is just really happy with, uh, the course and how it goes, and they're happy with what they leave with. So I mean, it's just a lot of fun. And if you haven't watched that video of the course in Louisiana, it gives you a little bit of insight. That was my first vlog, if you will. I keep saying that too, if you will. But that was my first one, and I think that I've learned a lot from making that video and filming that. So I think in the next ones to come, you're going to get an even more of an insight on behind the scenes. But yeah, I mean, it's just a great experience. Okay, so we're smoothing out the emergence. Things are looking good. Things are looking good. Let's just work on this one, and then let's do our contacts. I've really prolonged this design, but if you wanna learn these techniques and learn how to do them fast, I'm telling you, sign up for that online course. Go to one of these courses that Dr. Patel and I are hosting. I mean, you're gonna learn a lot, but at the end of the day, it just boils down to repetition, repeating, rinse and repeat, and that's the only way you're gonna see good, or it's the only way you're gonna get to perfection. Because you can go to these courses for 2 days, or you can do the online thing, but the beauty of the online course that I offer is I include scans and digital impressions that you can practice on, and that's how you're going to get better. Getting those impressions and just practicing. I promise you will see results. And if it comes to like, hey, I need this critiqued, like I need to learn what I didn't do right, then just send over the designer. Send I'm on Facebook or whatever. Just send some screenshots of a design, and I'll tell you, hey, this could use some work, or this looks great. Most of the time, for my students, I'm telling them, hey, this looks great, because it does. Like, a lot of the stuff that I receive, a lot of the screenshots that I receive, it's just like great work. I'm so proud of everyone for that. Okay, so remember we talked about this contact here on the distal of 7. I was a little bit tight. So we're going to have to take away a lot from that interproximal contact to make that contact green. But by doing that, you do run the risk of making the tooth appear more narrow. So to avoid making it appear more narrow, you're going to want to adjust the contact from the lingual and smooth it out from the lingual, rather than smoothing it out from here or even from here. Because if you look at this tool, the orange circle, if the orange circle's touching any part of the facial surface like it is right now, it's going to adjust that. It's going to smooth that out where the orange circle's touching. But if you're smoothing out the contact from the lingual, you could see the orange is touching the lingual, it's touching the red part, but none of it is touching the facial. So the facial surface and the facial width will remain the same. You're just adjusting the lingual and the interproximal. So let's increase the strength for this, because we do have a lot to remove, and just attack it from the lingual. And then once you get to an area like, okay, it's almost green, you could just start rapidly clicking the button like I'm doing right now, and it'll go away. And then take the strength back down. There we go. And now let's bring up the upper jaw. Let's look at it from the front. Remove the contacts. We still have that same width. We didn't touch anything on the facial. Still the same shape, still the same width. Let's pull up the grid. I want to measure the width of the centrals, make sure that those are symmetric. See, this one's a little bit wider. So we can take the shape tool, anatomical, because by using the anatomical tool, we're going to move the entire portion of the tooth. Where if we just use shape, we're just going to move that little area, but we want to maintain the entire shape that we've created, because that's symmetrical. The shape is symmetrical. It's just the width isn't. So we're going to bring the entire width over, and that'll help us maintain the shape, which is symmetric. And then you can see right here too, in this square, we're off a little bit. So what I'll do to fix that is take the individual to 4-directional, bring it over like that. Yes. Okay, we are good. We are looking good. Now let's work on the rest of our interproximal contacts. And this design is ready to ship out. Yeah, so I mean, back to the law of attraction. Uh, you know, like I said, I envisioned a lot of what's manifesting in my life, and that's why I say be careful what you wish for, because it's like, wow, you really do need to be careful what your thoughts dwell on, what you're thinking about on a daily basis, and what your goals are. If your goals are this and you dwell on that, that will manifest. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. It's a double-edged sword, because if say you're dwelling on something that maybe you don't want to happen, or maybe it's just not the right goal, it will happen. It will manifest. Just from my personal experience, that's what I've seen, and it really is a double-edged sword. So when you're thinking of those negative things, you're dwelling on those negative thoughts, try and release those things. Go to the gym, eat a granola bar, do what you got to do to just like forget about those thoughts. And if it's something you have to face it. Shit. Okay, our contacts are green there. And then to check the interproximal embrasure, to check that shape, see how the teeth merge into each other, I like to remove the contacts, bring the upper jaw back in, and then you can get an idea of like what the interproximal embrasure is looking like, where it looks like maybe it's a little bit wavy. So let's smooth it out. That might lighten up the contact, but we'll see. And then right here, maybe this could come over a little bit. See that number 8 is kind of leaning into number 7 a little bit too much, maybe. So the contact could probably come over on number 8 a little bit, rather than taking away that contact from number 7. So with the shape tool, we're now bringing it back into number 8. Let's bring let's now first remove the upper jaw to look at the shape of that. See, so that looks like it's in line. It looks good. Looks like a nice straight line. Then let's look at 8. Let's bring in the contacts. We're going to have some red, so let's go to the form tool and just smooth that out again. There we go. And I'm just clicking because we're making such minor adjustments. And if you saw this side, my shape tool was on the contour line a little bit, but it's so minor, it's not really going to change much. See, now I like that embrasure more than the last one. See, the last one, it looked like 8 was kind of leaning into 7, where now they look like they merge into each other like natural teeth would. We're going to do the midline last. I'm going to show you a little trick there. But let's focus on these ones. And I like to make my contacts green and smooth. So this one's pretty good. Just maybe make it yellow. We'll probably have to remove some from 9. And I'm just rapidly clicking. It just depends on the strength, but I was rapidly clicking there because I didn't want to remove too much. I want to maintain control any way possible. You got to be a control freak with this stuff and a perfectionist. So now we're green everywhere except for the midline. So for the midline, let's first analyze our midline, remove the contact. Oops. Click it from the front. So it looks like our midline is maybe leaning a little bit. It might not be completely vertical. I think we need to bring some over from this side to make it more vertical. And if you put this white line directly on it, it could also hide the midline. So just put the midline directly next to the white line. Now we're getting into some detailed stuff here, folks. But So now it's a little bit, we could bring it over there a little bit. Okay, that's good enough, because sometimes things get so minor that, I mean, you may not even notice it sometimes. Just depends on what angle you're looking at the tooth from. Okay, so now to do the midline contact, let's select both, or we don't even need to select both. We're going to go to the form tool. We're going to click Apply Symmetric. Check that. Then you're going to remove the entire upper jaw so that you've just got the 2 restorations there. Then you're going to remove minimal thickness. Then you're going to decrease the transparency of the restorations. Going to bring in the contacts, of course. And then you're going to take this form tool, the smooth tool, make it the proper size. This is a lot of steps, I know. And then you're going to, from the inside surface, you're going to smooth out the midline. Smooth that out. And I still like to attack it from the lingual because we know from the facial it's a straight midline. But if we attack it from the facial, we might get a lingual midline, or a midline that's more towards the lingual that isn't vertical. So rather than having your cursor here on the facial side, have it on the lingual side. Now that it's green and smooth, we're going to remove the contacts, bring in the upper jaw, increase the restoration, transparency, look at it directly from the front. Let's assess this midline. Let's bring in the grid. I think that things are coming in more from this side, number 9. Definitely they are. But see, that's why pre-op photos or pre-op scans in the biocopy folder are so important, because at this point what I would do is I would superimpose the pre-op scan or the biocopy scan, and then I would assess, okay, where was the midline before? Where is it with my design? Okay, maybe it needs to be moved over. Maybe it needs to be moved over now, but there wasn't a pre-op scan in this folder, so there's no way to really know. This is kind of how everything fell into place. So I'm going to trust how everything fell into place versus trying to make this midline. Another thing you could do is just analyze the preps. Decrease this. Now you could see the midline between the preps is like right there. So maybe it could be brought over. That's going to suck, because now I'm going to have to change a lot of the design. But if I bring that over, I'm going to bring that over, which would increase the width of the lateral. I think we need to bring it over. I really do. Oh, and then look at the midline. Or look at the midline of the lowers. See, there we go. The midline of the lowers, it's lined up. I mean, these are lined up. The midline of the uppers is lined up with the midline of the lowers. Now, if we were to bring this over, it would be a lot further off than it is even now, because it's still not completely lined up. So I say we just go with this. Let's just roll with this. Nope, something doesn't look right. Okay, so to fix that, I'm going to take the anatomical 2-directional, bring it over right there. Bring it up. See, that looks better. That honestly does. Take the form tool. You know what it could be too? We need to move this contour line over. 4-directional, circular, move it over. There we go. That's looking better. But now this tooth is too wide, so let's take the anatomical 2-directional again. Assess this midline, or right there. You can see the width is different. This one's wider than this one. Let's bring it over right there. I'm going to take anatomical 2-directional this time. And then what we could even do, I don't want to make this one too wide, because then it would start to just look too wide, like it's flaring out too much. Anyways, this video is just about done. I hope that by watching this, you learned a little bit about, my techniques and what I do. And if you didn't, I just hope that you just enjoyed the video. If you didn't learn all that much, I think you did. I do. I'm reading your mind, kind of, now. But I hope that you did get some takeaways from this video. I'm going to continue to post more. I don't know if I'm gonna do this whole recording me while I'm designing, but if you're into it, if you like it, let me know. If you're feeling like, hey, I can't stand this guy's face, I don't like his attitude, and I especially don't like his robe, let me know, and I won't do this anymore. I might though, just because I want to. But anyways, I'll talk to you guys later. This design is just about done. We're just gonna do the same thing again, refine the contacts. I'm gonna maybe analyze things a little bit more, and then we're good to go. So, talk to you later. Ciao.